Welcome to Cunningham Piano. I'm Hugh Sung. I wanted to take the opportunity in this video to talk a little bit about the actual process of recording pianos. A major part of what I do here at Cunningham Pianos is, of course, making these videos showcasing the various pianos we represent from Busendorfer, from Yamaha, and a huge part of that is making sure that we capture the very best sound we can. And of course, a lot of that is going to be dependent upon our equipment, what kind of equipment we use to record these wonderful pianos. And of course, that leads to a discussion of microphones, to be quite frank. And it's interesting, I come from a long history of traditional recording. What I mean by that is I've recorded well over a dozen albums. We're collaborated with a lot of wonderful musicians, but also with some terrific audio engineers. And the way that I've recorded in the past was a very expensive proposition where we would rent a hall, a beautiful acoustic space with great sound, great acoustics where you hear a wonderful reverb. You have to get, of course, a great piano, a great instrument. And of course, the engineer would have these amazing, incredibly expensive microphones to work with, right? So all of those things had to be in place, and particularly the space. So I remember I think the most complicated microphone setup I ever worked on or worked with was with an engineer who I think used no less than 5 or 6 microphones. I think there were 2 microphones in the piano, and then 2 or 3. One was actually on another big fat ribbon microphone, old-fashioned ribbon microphone, and a couple other ambience microphones that were further out, designed to capture the space that the music was filling. And when you have access to all that equipment, that's fantastic. You can get some tremendous quality, great sounds, but it's very, very highly specialized. And those audio engineers, after decades of working with these guys, I just admire their craft so much in terms of their ears and their grasp of technology and their art. A lot of it is just having this intuitive sense of what sounds good. And you can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't really know how to use it or how to place it, it's really of very little use. So I don't claim to be an audio engineer on the level of the engineers that I've worked with, but I've tried to pick up a few things from observing the way that they work and the way that they place the microphones for the piano. And of course, in this situation, it's very different. Cunningham Piano, I'm here in the King of Prussia showroom, and I'll be honest, the acoustics here are terrible. We've got water pipes, overhead. You probably can't hear it now, but there's a very loud exercise gym right underneath us. They're playing, blaring all this kind of loud music and shouting and screaming to do their exercises. Of course, the windows here are right next to some very busy traffic, so there's cars and motorcycles, and the space itself is just not conducive to acoustic recording in and of itself. I mean, it's a very dry space. There's lots of carpeting. It's okay for demonstrating pianos, but for recording, there's so much noise, ambient noise from the lights and everything. It's a nightmare, right? One of the things that I've been recently discovering is the absolute amazing technique of, I guess, what I would call a near-field recording. So what I mean by that is a technique of placing the microphones inside the piano very, very close and using microphones that do a very good job of picking up what's in front of them and cutting out what's behind. And it's remarkable when you use those kinds of microphones, they do a great job of isolating all the other yucky noises around them, and they focus on just picking up the good stuff in front of them, okay? And I've had some tremendous success exploring this new, for me, it's just a new world of microphones that are highly specialized to capture just what's in front. And again, I'm not a technician, so I can't explain the whole concept of cardioid patterns and things like that. But I wanted to share one of the microphones that I've been really, really impressed with. This is by a company called Audix. And the microphones I'm using are the SCX25A. These are extra large diaphragm microphones. And from what I understand, the recording capsule has a unique design where it's actually floating. And I know with a floating design, if I understand this correctly, it helps to minimize surrounding vibrations. I've seen great microphone setups in the past where they're kind of sitting in this web nest or something, so that they're purposely kind of hanging almost an anti-gravity cage, as it were, so that the rumble or any extra vibrations don't interfere with the recording process. And I imagine this is something very similar, because what's really interesting about the SCX25A from Audix is that they come with these piano mounts, and the way they're mounted is specifically on to the cast iron frame. In a grand piano, the cast iron frame will have these ribs, okay, that kind of help to, of course, they help hold the string tension over the soundboard. And they give a great placement for the microphones. Now normally, the old-fashioned microphones, if you did something like what I'm doing with these microphones, you'd be worried about vibrations from the piano leaking right into the microphones. But for somehow these microphones don't do that. They don't pick up any kind of vibrations. Of course, a good, if I understand this correctly, a good cast iron frame will not vibrate. Okay, it's acoustically dead on purpose, so that its job is just to hold the string tension in place and to hold the frame of the piano so that the woods and the strings can be free to vibrate on their own. So this takes advantage of the design of the cast iron frame. I can hang these microphones in two primary places. I'd like to hang them over the bass section, the bass strings, and then over the treble strings. And so and these microphones are very forgiving. I can really, wherever I place them, they seem to do a really good job of capturing just kind of what's in their periphery. And again, with these microphones, you want to make sure that you're placing so that the name of the microphone is facing where you want to record. And the back of it, of course, will do a great job of isolating out the extra noise, like the air conditioner, the lights, and all that stuff. So that's the way I've been recording. And I have to say, these microphones are terrific. I mean, I can't emphasize enough, especially in this day and age where it's more important than ever to represent yourself with a good recording, whether it's making videos like I do on YouTube or other, now more and more now with live streaming events and live streaming appearances. And really, microphones are your voice. You could have the most beautiful piano, could have the most beautiful instrument, but if your microphones aren't very good, your voice is going to be stunted, and you're going to be very limited in terms of how you represent yourself, especially online these days. I have to say I've been very, very, very thankful to have microphones of this quality to work with. And they're not so outrageously expensive. I know some microphones can be in the tens of thousands of dollars. This isn't the case. I mean, these are quite affordable. They are an investment. But I have to say, for every penny that I've invested in good audio equipment, to what I can afford, I've actually made that money back, believe it or not. The investment always returns in higher quality videos, higher quality recordings, and the response has always been terrific. And so I'm really happy to share kind of my inside secret as to why, I've heard a lot of wonderful compliments as to why our videos are so wonderful, because they sound so good. And the reason they sound so good is because we're using microphones like the Audix SCX25A. Okay, so anyway, enough talk. Let me go ahead and demonstrate just how wonderful I think these microphones are. I'm going to play something that's really rich and colorful so that you can hear the full spectrum of sound. And of course, helps to start off with a great piano like this Yamaha 9-foot Consagrand CFX. This is their flagship piano, played on with captured with some wonderful microphones from Audix. So let's take a listen. So, I've created some tutorials to help a lot of pianists and musicians get started with teaching online, and I've made recommendations on different levels of equipment, okay? And of course, if you're getting started, and use what you can afford. But I want to encourage you, if you're becoming more, as you understand more and more about what's involved with recording, I can't emphasize how important it is to think about seriously, saving up your money and investing in a great pair of headphones. And this is a great place to start, or even to end. These microphones are favored by, I read that Diana Krall, Grammy Award-winning pianist, these are her favorite microphones to use. And I can see why, I can hear why. They just, let me know what you think. The crispness, the richness, there's a character to these microphones that helps me really feel confident that when I'm playing on a great piano, some beautiful music, and it comes out well, I have the tools to capture that in a vibrant, dynamic way that I know is going to come across really, really well on the videos or recordings that I make. So, like I said, I can't emphasize, this is the voice that you're investing in ultimately. Yes, you should get a great piano, but to capture that piano and the essence of what you're doing as a musician, the better your microphones, the more of you will come through. So anyway, this is really just a kind of a personalized, kind of a secret tip look as to how we get our recordings to sound as good as they do. And that's really the secret to great videos, is the quality of the sound. And again, thanks so much to Audix and the SCX25A microphones. These are specific piano microphones, the piano mounts, just terrific to work with. And I'm really looking forward to making many, many, many more recordings with these wonderful microphones. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to subscribe so that we can let you know whenever we have new content like this. For Cunningham Piano, I'm Hugh Sung. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.